Steelers Nation. You are now listening to Good Steelers Morning, your daily dose of Pittsburgh Steelers news, rumors, and everything black and gold. Now, here is your host, Justin Otstad.
The rumors of the Pittsburgh Steelers trading for a wide receiver has all but seemingly continued week after week, month after month. And yet here we are in May, 1st of May, 2024, on this beautiful Pennsylvania Wednesday. And yet we sit here with no news on the Steelers actually making such a trade. At least not at the time of this recording. But we do have some updates. We do have, I guess you could call this news, as Steelers GM Omar Khan found himself on the Pat McAfee Show yesterday, and he was asked about such trades, and his response kind of resembles the same exact type of response he gave when reporters asked him about Kenny Pickett just a few months ago. And so, I hate to say this, but it is a little predictable when it comes to Khan. You really look at the way he's been answering things and you kind of see a pattern. At least that's what I see. This is a classic sign of smoke and mirrors, and Khan has been doing that since he became the Steelers GM, taking over for Colbert. And in my opinion, I think we could be seeing a trade within the next week or so, depending on which player the Steelers are actually targeting behind the scenes. In fact, let's get into some of those names right now. We'll go down the list here, starting off with the obvious, Brandon Aiyuk from the San Francisco 49ers. He's been the guy that's been heavily involved in just about every trade rumor that's been going around even before the draft started. And arguably the favorites, he was saying that him and Mike Tomlin looked alike. And of course there was some, fun going on X for a little bit there with that. But that's where that all started with him. And again, he's been the favorite for a lot of fans that are really eager to see this trade happen. Then there's Courtland Sutton, who, out of all the names on this list that we're going to talk about, he's the guy that seems like the most likely, the most obvious. And as of Monday, it actually looked like there was a chance for this to actually happen. But of course, some of the Denver Broncos media came out and put that to rest pretty quickly. But we've been hearing that about Brandon Aiyuk with the San Francisco 49ers as well, where there's this hype that builds up and seemingly things start to die down. Guys come out and say, no, there's no truth to this. But I always lived by one rule. When there's smoke, there's fire. And so somebody on this list that we're going through here is got to be in play right now. Could it be DK Metcalf, the wide receiver from the Seattle Seahawks? His name started circulating on X Monday night into Tuesday morning. And that started floating around. Don't know where that came from. Is it intriguing? Absolutely. In fact, I'll go on record and say this. Out of almost everybody on this list, it's tough. But I do think Metcalf kind of stands out a little bit in regards to intrigue. In regards to a lot of things, actually, contract, how old the player is, all those things come into play. There is one issue, though, with that theory in regards to Metcalf. There would be no deal until June 1st if that trade was to happen or if that trade is in discussion. And so if McFadden's tweet has any truth to it, and he mentioned that there is a trade coming, I don't know if June 1st is soon enough, especially for us Steelers fans. I don't know about you guys, But I don't want to spend the next month talking about trade rumors and who the Steelers should pick up or trade for. We need to get those answers sooner rather than later for our own sanity. But finishing off this list, you have Deebo Samuel, San Francisco 49ers. He is the last guy that's been rumored in regards to the Steelers trading. And that would make 2 wide receivers from the San Francisco 49ers now. But the discussions in regards to a potential trade with them would be too expensive for the Steelers. Whereas Brandon Aiyuk, the trades have been shot down by the 49ers, saying that they're not interested in trading the wide receiver, despite the fact they drafted wide receiver just last week. But to add to that discussion in regards to the 49ers and their receivers, both Aiyuk and Samuel, Ian Rappaport was on the Rich Eisen show yesterday, and he said that by week 1 of 2024, it looks like they both will be on the roster, as he made some calls around, and the discussions with him were, why would the 49ers trade them? And I agree with Rappaport. That's a good point. They really don't have any real reason to trade such players. And at this point, I mean, I don't know what to expect when it comes to those two. I don't know what to expect with this DK Metcalf thing because I don't even know where that was started. And right now, the only trade rumor that's been going around that makes sense for the Steelers and makes sense in general is with the Denver Broncos targeting Sutton. And I do think Sutton would make a great number 2 with George Pickens on this roster. Not to mention, he already knows Russell. And so that connection is already there. And so when you look at all 4 players, that is where I'm putting my money currently. But again, going back to Khan, I would not be shocked if he had something up his sleeve. Because again, you go back to those comments that he made on the Pat McAfee show, and you think back to what he said in regards to Kenny Pickett, you kind of got to put those patterns together. Now, look, putting all logic aside and removing both 49er receivers out of the equation, if you had to ask me out of Courtland Sutton and DK Metcalf, which of the 2 players I would want the Steelers to trade for, I think everyone would agree with me. If you don't, let me know in the comments. I'm actually interested to see what you think. I'm picking DK Metcalf all day, even if it does mean you have to wait to June 1st for that trade to actually go through and all that stuff. I'd be willing to do that. I know I mentioned earlier that we're all losing our sanity and whatnot, but let's be honest. If it really was coming down to that trade, again, I don't know where it came from, but again, logic out the window. You're definitely going DK Metcalf. Don't even fool yourself. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Good Steelers Morning. We originally were going to do an episode talking about Zach Frazier and discussing what impact I think he's going to have on the offensive line. We will try to do that tomorrow morning. Of course, that depends on if anything happens in regards to wide receiver or if new rumors start to pop up, because we're going to have to discuss those. But that said, as of now, that's the plan for tomorrow. I'm going to get on out of here. You guys enjoy your Wednesday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.